Hello and welcome to a gameplay for all seasons. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about the differences between the 1800s, i.e. or the late 1800s, when Hogwarts Legacy is set, versus now or the time of Harry Potter, so recent history. Now, there are two particular areas of differences that I am going to go into. As I always say, if you're interested in Hogwarts Legacy, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and let's get straight into this video. Now, the reason I'm going to go on to two areas where there are differences rather than 10 or 5 is actually because there is not that many differences between the 1800s and the 1900s. If you think about the Harry Potter films and even the books and the images it conjures up in your head, it could actually be the 1800s, and there's a very good reason for that, and it is because of Hogwarts itself. Hogwarts is obviously an ancient place. It was built in 993 AD, and ever since then it's been a place of magic, and because of that the building has almost got its own conscience. It's become sentient, so much so they won't actually allow technology which is not adapted to run off the castle itself, which is why you don't get any electricity, i.e. no phones. That's why they walk around with candles all the time. So like I say, there isn't actually that many differences. One of the big things people sometimes talk about from the past is when the toilets were put in for the thing that come out in Pottermore, but they were actually put in a century before this game is set, so that's not an issue at all. So the first area that I do actually want to talk about the differences then is actually the ghosts. There's different ways you could approach this question as to which ghosts are actually going to be there in the 1800s. You could go through all the different ghosts that have appeared absolutely everywhere, such as computer games, etc., because technically that is lore in a way, or maybe you don't see it that way. But what I'm going to go through is the main ones, the ones that are in the books and that people are most familiar with. Beginning with the 4 house ghosts then, so Nearly Headless Nick from Gryffindor, the Bloody Baron from Slytherin, the Fat Friar from Hufflepuff, and the Grey Lady from Ravenclaw. They are all very old ghosts, and they have been there for a very long time. Obviously, Nearly Headless Nick had his 500th death day at the time Harry Potter was there, and the others have been there even longer. So they should definitely be in the game. We know there's going to be ghosts. We saw the ghost in the trailer that we've seen already. So the other ghost, and I'm going to use inverted commas over ghost, is Peeves, because Peeves isn't really a ghost. He is a manifestation of the cheekiness of students. He come with the castle and is built in 993. But again, he has to be there. He's a constant nuisance around the school, and he's very much part of Hogwarts. As I say, he came with the place. The 2 ghosts then that are mentioned in the book and play important parts in the book are Moaning Myrtle and Professor Binns. So Moaning Myrtle was killed by the Basilisk in 1943. Obviously, she's not going to be in the game, but her bathroom would be, because that was already there. And Professor Binns, it's a bit unclear when he became a ghost. However, it's highly likely that he became a ghost after the 1800s, so he shouldn't be in ghost form. But apparently there wasn't that much difference between him as a person and a ghost, and I'm suspecting that Professor Binns will be at Hogwarts at the time. In fact, I've made a whole separate video about that. And the second area of difference I wanted to talk about is actually the Hogwarts Express. Now, the reason I want to talk about this isn't because it's a major difference, it's because it leads to quite an interesting thought about what's going to be in the game, which is Hogsmeade is obviously an all-wizard village and has been for a long time, and they got a station in 1830. Again, I made a video about how that will happen, so I won't repeat that. But in 1830, they got the station, and at the same time, the Hogwarts Express started running, which firstly creates an interesting point, because we've seen at the start of the game that you go in by cart, which suggests to me you're not going in right at the start of the term, but also says if you're going to have a true representation of Hogsmeade, you can't have it without a station, and if you're going to have the station, it would be a bit weird not to have the Hogwarts Express. And it's the Hogwarts Express where the other difference comes in, which is the Hogwarts Express we are used to from drawings in the books, depending on what version of the books you have, and the films is a version that was built in the 1930s. So we would have the Hogwarts Express, but do not expect it to look like the Hogwarts Express we are familiar with. And apart from that, the differences really are quite minor. So expect Hogwarts to look and feel very much like we're actually used to. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video.